Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a truly comprehensive new report from LinkedIn that details exactly how generative AI is going to reshape our global economy and honestly, fundamentally change the trajectory of our careers. We aren't just talking about a trendy new software tool here, we're looking at a complete paradigm shift in human productivity. So if you've been wondering how this tech will impact your day-to-day work, or whether your current skill set is really ready for the future, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to take a what, so what, and now what journey today. First up, the trillion-dollar opportunity. Second, the widening adoption gap. Third, the AI skills deficit. Fourth, who is most exposed. And finally, the new skilling playbook.
Section 1. The trillion-dollar opportunity.
Let's kick things off with a massive macroeconomic hook of this report. The sheer scale of the innovation ahead of us is, well, it's truly unprecedented. $6.6 trillion. That is the jaw-dropping amount of productive capacity that generative AI could unlock. To put that into perspective, if businesses across the 5 major economies studied were to fully implement GAI across all their work tasks, they could save the equivalent of $6.6 trillion in worker time. This isn't just about cutting costs, right? It's about freeing up human capital so we can reinvest it into delivering more innovative products and creating vastly more value.
So, breaking down the global reality of that figure, we can see exactly where those gains could land. The United States stands to gain a massive $4.1 trillion in productive capacity. That is equivalent to 15% of the country's entire 2023 GDP. Following that, Germany could unlock $837 billion and India $621 billion. And what's really fascinating is where this is happening. In India, nearly 41% of these total gains can be unlocked in the manufacturing sector alone, with Germany close behind at 35%. This is a huge boost for things like supply chain management, product design, and market research.
But, I want to be super clear here. This isn't just about cold economic data and corporate balance sheets. This translates directly into actual human well-being. Take software engineers using GAI tools like GitHub Copilot, for example. Surveys show that 60 to 75% of those users report feeling way more fulfilled with their jobs and a lot less frustrated when coding. And across the board, 68% of people say they struggle with the pace of work today, with nearly half feeling burned out. GAI is stepping in to relieve that pressure, letting workers focus on the creative, satisfying aspects of their jobs, rather than the repetitive grind.
Section 2. The widening adoption gap. Now, we kind of need a reality check on who is actually harnessing this power right now. When we contrast these adoption rates, a really clear warning sign emerges. Large businesses are adopting GAI at a rate of 48%, compared to just 41% for small and medium businesses. So why does this matter? Well, because SMBs represent more than 90% of all businesses and employ half of the workers worldwide. If we leave them behind, largely due to cost barriers and a lack of resources, we're essentially crippling our true global economic potential.
Section 3. The AI skills deficit.
Now, what's really interesting about this next point is that it brings us to a fascinating paradox. 2/3 of businesses currently using GAI actually plan to increase their headcount, but there's a massive shortage of people with the required skills to use it. So what are employers actually hunting for? You might think it's all just coding, but the reality is way more nuanced.
Looking at this breakdown of expected skills for new hires, the surprising truth is revealed. Yes, technical and digital skills make up the largest portions at 28% and 27%. But right alongside them, business skills represent 23%, and soft skills are at 22%. It turns out that as AI takes on the highly operational and repetitive tasks, uniquely human people skills, things like communication, leadership, and stakeholder management, make up nearly half of the required skill profile. Companies are aggressively hiring for a mix of skills because they urgently need humans to complement what GAI simply cannot do.
Section 4. Who is most exposed?
Let's get highly personal to answer the underlying question I know you're all asking. Is my job safe? Let's explore this augmented, insulated, and disrupted framework. It's kind of like a map for your career. The vertical axis shows skills that are complementary to GAI, while the horizontal axis shows skills that are replicable by GAI. Down in the bottom right, the disrupted zone, we find roles like administrative assistants, translators, and legal associates. These are jobs where a really high percentage of everyday tasks can be replicated by AI. Now, mapping up to the top right, the augmented zone. Here we find roles like teachers and software engineers. They use skills that AI can replicate, sure, but they also heavily rely on complementary human skills, meaning AI acts as an assistant rather than a replacement. And over on the left, the insulated zone features jobs like medical doctors and athletes, where AI has very little overlap with their core physical or highly specialized tasks.
So when we look at the demographics populating that disrupted zone, a stark picture emerges. Women are highly exposed because they're overrepresented in roles like medical clerks and customer service. Younger workers face high exposure because their entry-level tasks involve GAI replicable skills like basic writing and analytics, but they haven't quite developed those resilient senior people skills like negotiation yet. Furthermore, workers with undergraduate degrees are heavily impacted simply because GAI cannot partially replicate tasks that previously required a bachelor's-level education. So the crucial point is that these groups aren't doomed to displacement, but they absolutely urgently require targeted support and reskilling to adapt their roles before they're automated out of them.
Section 5. The New Skilling Playbook. So how do we ensure workers aren't left behind? The report outlines a really empowering, action-oriented three-part approach for how governments and businesses can actively bridge this divide. Step 1. Expand the AI technical talent pool, which, by the way, is currently less than 1% of the global workforce, so businesses of all sizes can build these tools. Step 2. Promote widespread AI literacy, making sure everyday workers know how to prompt and actually use tools like ChatGPT and Copilot. And Step 3. Actively invest in those resilient people skills, like leadership and critical thinking. That is what will separate human value from machine output. Workforce adaptation is entirely possible, for sure, but only if we make these structured investments.
And this brilliantly illustrates how diverse regions are already putting this exact playbook into concrete action globally. Over in the US, the Mississippi AI Collaborative is successfully training K-12 educators and providing AI apprenticeships to help local small businesses. In Europe, Germany's Hubs for Tomorrow are offering up to 80 hours of free, targeted technical support to really help SMBs overcome those adoption obstacles. And in Asia, India has launched the AI for All platform, which is democratizing AI education nationally across 11 different languages.
To sum this whole thing up, generative AI is an absolute imperative for human prosperity and global economic growth. That $6.6 trillion potential is very real, but it will only be realized if we boldly and rapidly rewire our workforce to meet it, ensuring that small businesses and exposed demographics are actively brought into the fold. The nations and organizations that lead in skilling today are absolutely going to dictate the competitive landscape of tomorrow.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought as you evaluate your own career trajectory in this rapidly evolving economy. Look at your daily tasks, look at your professional development, and ask yourself honestly, are you building the uniquely human skills to be augmented by AI, or are you just waiting to be disrupted?